I completely think it's all about building those relationships, right? Relationships come first, and this sounds basic and simple, but that really is the core of sales.
At the end of the day, if you really believe in what you're offering, it shouldn't feel sleazy or slimy.
I think, doing this hard work really does pay off. And I think trusting and believing that the work that you're doing today is going to serve you tomorrow, and sticking with that is really, it's the key to entrepreneurship.
On this episode of the podcast, we are talking about effective strategies for pricing, client acquisition, and enhancing your business's overall impact. What's up, my friend? Welcome to the Grow Your Video Business Podcast. My name is Ryan Corl. I am your host from Studio Sherpas, Tell Studios, Enroll Films, all the things. Super excited to be here with you today. So glad. If you are new here, welcome. I'm pumped to have you. This is a show that I started 300 something episodes ago. That's like years ago. As I was on my own journey in my video business, I found a lot of advice and opposite of aloneness, community by opening myself up to other filmmakers in the Detroit area. And as I did that, I realized that I'm very passionate and excited about education. And I love the work that we get to do as brand storytellers in my production business. And 7 or 8 years ago, we started this brand here to help equip you with tools, resources, lessons learned that I've learned over the past almost 20 years in running a video business. And those are the conversations that we have. And that is the ecosystem that I've tried to build inside of Studio Sherpas and this podcast, the Grow Your Video Business show. So thank you for being here. I have something very exciting to share with you. This only happens one time a year. Well, sometimes 2 times. Just depends on the year. But right now, we are opening the doors to taking applications to our Studio Sherpas Mastermind. This is a group of 12 people or less that meets twice a month virtually and at least one time a year for an in-person retreat. And this is probably one of my favorite things that I've started since the Studio Sherpas inception. Having a very close group of people who rely on each other to help them, to give advice, to listen to them, to build community with. It's one thing to have, a large Facebook group or community where people can post something and you can get immediate feedback or sometimes slow feedback. But to have a very small group that knows you, that knows your story, that is only invited into the group because they've agreed to the mastermind principles, which is to not just be a taker, but also a giver. And as a part of the mastermind, you get, every few weeks, you get a hot seat where you get 20 to 30 minutes to share with the group what your big struggle, frustration, your big question. Sometimes people just say, hey, I need some feedback on my website, or I've never hired an employee. I'm getting ready to hire my first one. What have you guys done? What would you suggest? Knowing my business, what would you recommend for me? So the hot seats are very, very helpful. They're very great. And it's not a group that's about me. Like, I'm not coming in and teaching. I'm facilitating and opening the conversation so that people have an opportunity to share and to grow, to be heard, all of those things. So if you're in a spot in your business where you think next year you could use a mastermind, you could grow from, you could contribute to other people that are serious about their video production business, then go check out. You can get more information on the mastermind if you go to studiosherpas.com/mastermind, and there's an application form there. There's a little bit of a process. I will interview you if it seems like you're in a good spot, and then like I said, we only take up to 12 people in the group, and we are opening doors. There are a couple of spots open in the current group, and if we get an influx of applications, then I will consider opening another group in 2024. So go check out the mastermind. If there's something in you that's like, you know what? I feel like I've heard Ryan talk about this before. There are past episodes that I've had people from the mastermind on. There's all sorts of testimonials out there about the value for the people that have been in a mastermind. So you can go to studiosherpas.com/mastermind. Read all about it. You can apply if you feel like, I think this next year might be the time for me to do something different in my business that I've never done. And I promise you, you will love it if you are a part of it. So there's that. Now, let's get into today's episode. Here we go. What's up, friends? Hey, welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today with me, my guest is Alyssa Houseknecht, who is the CEO. It sounds like she's getting run down right now. Are you running from the law? That's what, it's great. She's the CEO and the creative director at Confidant Co. Alyssa, welcome to the show. Oh, I did a little rhyme there.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. I'm sorry. I promise I'm not running for the law or getting run over.
At least not today. You know what I'm saying?
Not today.
Good. I'm glad about both of those things. So, and do you go by Liz? Is that kind of like a nickname? Is that what your friends call you?
It is. Yeah.
All right,
my
Liz.
name is so long. If you see my name written out, I just kind of chopped both my names, and on Instagram and all over the internet, I list House. It's easy. So Liz,
Nice.
Alyssa, whatever's good.
This
Yeah.
house. Okay, good. Well, so tell me about the biggest or the thing inside of your business that gets you the most excited. Like, what do you love doing? What do you get most passionate about? Like, if a potential client comes to you, like, what does that dream client look like, and what are you guys doing together? What are you working on?
Great question. So this question is a little twofold for me. I have two very distinct sides of my business, which I love, and they're both so different. So on one side, as you mentioned, I run a creative agency. We offer full done-for-you boutique services. So that's everything from brand strategy through all your visual design and web design, e-commerce and packaging design, everything that you need to kind of go to market and have a really powerful brand presence. And then the other side of the business, I love, love, love working and consulting with entrepreneurs, like ourselves, who are in those first few years of business. I think the agency side, it's such a blast to really help people bring their dreams to life, right? To see this idea start so small, and to see it fully blossom and come to fruition and be able to sell, their products or their services. And then similarly, with the consulting and kind of coaching, mentoring side of things, I get to do the same thing. So I think that's kind of the through line, just in a different way, right? So in my mentoring program, I work with, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs who are working to really build the foundations of their business. I think that's the through line. It just kind of comes out in different ways.
Yeah, love that. I know for a lot of production people, and I know, when we we did wedding films for a whole bunch of years, and then in 2012 we made a shift. We launched our corporate brand, and very soon after that, we got an opportunity to work with a PR firm, this agency. And what was amazing is I had a personal connection with one of the women that had worked there. I filmed her wedding years before that. And we ended up doing so many projects with this agency because the agency, I don't know how many clients they had, but 20, 30 clients of theirs. And anytime that a video was needed, they would turn to us and say like, hey, we've got this client, they need a video. We've got this client that needs a video. So I realized like very early on, like, this is amazing. Like if I could just partner with agency owners and then, serve their clients like this, it's a lot easier to win over one client and get a bunch of work than like, every single client having to win them over. I know in this space, all of my video friends, there is this allure of working with agencies for that reason. And also like, if ad agencies, I would say is kind of like next level, different type of thing than the kind of work that I care about. But I'm talking more in the sense of, marketing agency, branding agency, somebody that definitely could use video production, but isn't necessarily doing like, commercials on TV type of stuff. So all of that, there's some context. If somebody were to come to you and pitch themselves, like a video person were to come to you and pitch themselves in hopes that you would say like, oh, this could be a great connection for my clients. What do you look for? So as people are thinking through, well, hopefully not everybody's going to like reach out to you and try to pitch you. But what are some things that you would suggest people like myself would do to try to sell themselves or pitch themselves to an agency owner?
Yeah, I love that question, and I say bring it on. Bring on all the pitches.
All right, all right.
I love this question actually because this is such a crucial piece of any business, right? But especially if you are looking to grow your own business, you're looking to make these connections. I completely think it's all about building those relationships, right? Relationships come first, and this sounds basic and simple, but that really is the core of sales. That's the core of building a business. And so I really believe in making those connections, making those relationships. I'm actually really doing that right now actively. I love working with trusted partners, kind of like the relationship that you're talking about. The more that you kind of have that network of people to call on, I think the better. I think, gain a trust, you gain just an understanding of each other, right? You don't have to constantly be starting that process over every time you have a new client or project. So I really look for, relationship building. I think we all, right, have experience with like cold emails or outreach. And I think I'm not against cold outreach, but I think it has to be done in a very delicate way. Hey, I'd love to meet you for a cup of virtual coffee. Like, could we just grab 15, 20 minutes on your calendar? I'd love to learn more about your business. And then I think also showing a little bit that, you invested or learned a little bit more about my business. Hey, I noticed that you work with these types of businesses. I work with them as well. Could we grab, like I said, a cup of virtual coffee and chat? For me, that's kind of, let's just start building the relationship, right? That's where it starts for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think there's a lot of hesitation in cold outreach because it can feel just inauthentic is probably the best word that for me. Mm-hmm. And I also feel like, I might have a list of like 20 or 30 people that I want to reach out to. And there's a sense of like, oh, I should make every message very custom so that so that they know that I'm, but they don't know that I'm sending this, same
right.
kind of message to, but as a creative and also as somebody that really cares about authentic relationships, I feel like I'm not being true to myself. And I really want to kind of go the next level, which I to a fault, to where I won't reach out because I'm like, it's just going to come across inauthentic. And at the end of the day, really when I'm reaching out for a virtual coffee because I hope that there's a connection here and that you'll send me business. That's my hope, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I just want more sales. So how would you encourage or coach somebody through that to say like, well, you're overthinking it, or maybe I'm not overthinking it, but what kind of encouragement or advice would you give to somebody like me? It's probably not me. Just kidding. I think a lot of us,
that's a great question.
Feel that way.
We do. I think we all feel that way. And, a lot of times I do tell my mentoring students and clients, sales is just a part of business. And if you're so uncomfortable with sales, being an entrepreneur may not be the best route for you, right? It may be better to kind of partner up with someone and work in a team. But that being said, I think that it can become less scary, become less icky, uncomfy. And I think, number one, it's all about intention, right? If you're leading with an intention that I want to be an authentic connection and partner, yes, of course, there's something behind this. Like I've got a business to run and I want to, get some business here. But I think it's really number one about that connection. And I think people will sense that. Number two, I think it's realizing that cold outreach or any form of marketing, you're going to hear more no's than yes, right? And you're probably going to hear more silence than no's.
Right.
So it's, I think, So I think it's just sticking with it, not taking it personally and just being open to saying, hey, whoever is supposed to come into my circle, I'm going to open myself up for that, right? That's kind of an energetic, maybe mindset shift that like, I'm just going to trust that the work I'm doing is going to pay off. And I think, starting with that authentic intention, I think writing a message, if you're doing a cold DM, like on LinkedIn or an email. If you're on Instagram, I highly recommend actually using a voice memo. It does take more time. It does require, right, a little bit maybe more courage because you're not just kind of hiding behind your keyboard. But I think that that can come across really well. Some people hate voice memos. Some people love them. I think one quick 1 minute voice memo, is great. And people can hear the tone of your voice. You took the time out of your day to communicate that. So I think that's one really helpful tip. And then I think also I actually call out the awkwardness when I am doing cold outreach. Especially on Instagram or a platform that's maybe a little bit more casual, I say, hey, I want to be the first one to say I hate cold messages, and I realize that this is one. However, I see this about your business. We have I think that's the piece is like, we have mutual clients in common, right? Because I want something out of this relationship too. If you're coming to me as a video producer, as an agency and saying, hey, funnel me your clients, then I'm going to expect that you're kind of pushing for me as well, right? It's that give and take in a relationship. So my hope would be that this could be mutually beneficial. And I think if you're reaching out to someone like an agency owner, like myself, you want to call that out and say, this is how I think that a partnership could really work together. That's a few ideas.
Yeah, I love it. I love even just the idea of calling out the awkwardness. I'm really good at leading with, okay, this is awkward, but because at the end of the day, if you really believe in what you're offering, it shouldn't feel sleazy or slimy, or like, the worst case, like bad salesy. You really believe 100%. That if you do brand films or explainer videos or case studies in these kinds of videos can help transform a business, can help a business get new clients, and can help them, even grow in confidence, then you have something to offer. So you're not going to be a fit for everyone. You have to do reach out. And you're going to get said no to way more than you're going to get said yes to. Where a lot of us get stuck, this whole mindset thing, we have 4 or 5 people that we're like, oh yeah, I'd like to reach out to, and we reach out to all those 5 and we don't hear anything, or it's like, we're good, or reach out next year. Then it's just like, okay, I just failed. I'm not doing that again. That's just awkward, uncomfortable. But oh my gosh, like 5 people or 5 businesses, that's like literally nothing. I mean, you have not even started scratching the surface with 5. It's like, okay, 5 a day for 3 years, right? In 5, that's still not even a lot, like per day. But I guess my encouragement to people as they're thinking through this, like, I hate like when I don't know somebody and I'm doing this reach out, but if that can become part of your regular rhythm, oh my gosh, when that person finally says yes to that virtual coffee and you show up and you have this amazing conversation. I had one yesterday. I've been reaching out, we're launching this new brand, it's higher ed storytelling, and I've got some cool connections that I've made, but I've reached out to a lot of people that have ghosted me, and I don't know what happened. Something happened this week, but like all these people accepted my request. That these requests have been pending. I made little videos for people when I reached out to them, and all of a sudden, like, people are interested in coming out to this new podcast that I'm launching. I had a quick call with a guy yesterday. We hopped on for 20 minutes, and it was awesome. But my initial message to him was like, it was a little awkward, a little clunky. And we get on this call. He's like, hey, I do this like thing called legacy marketers or something like that. He's like, I'm gonna take a screen grab of us, so like give me a smile. And I'm just like laughing, like, oh dude, that's hilarious. He's like, okay, cool, I already got it. I'm like, oh. So then he posts this, he recaps our call on LinkedIn and just says like, yeah, today I met Ryan, and he's calling me like a marketing, whatever guru. I don't even know the guy, but like he loves the things that we talked about. We talked about the Go-Giver. We talked about like this whole awkwardness of cold calling and outreach. We both believe that it's got to be part of the process. But he did this whole post, and then somebody commented, 2 people commented, some person reached out to me and said, hey, I saw your little highlight. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like what the heck is happening? So
that's amazing.
So many
First
no's.
of all, I'm going to steal that. I love that idea. Yeah.
Which one? The like
Of
highlighting the
sharing like a
conversation?
recap of, yeah, I think that that provide immediately, and to kind of flip that to your question you asked me previously, you could even do that now, right? You're like, hey, this is
Totally.
kind of an exchange of
Yep.
I'm reaching out to you, so now we're going to kind of cross promote each other, right? I love that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, no, you're fine. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I say that to say prior to that, I mean, weeks and weeks and weeks. I feel like a handful of these people hadn't responded 2 months ago. I reached out to them. And so I just kind of gave up. And then all of a sudden, all of a sudden, I started intentionally commenting and posting or liking, commenting, and reading articles that they're writing and actually saying some things. And all of a sudden, like this person accepted, and I'm like, oh, okay. So like if I commit to doing this
Amazing.
over the course of time, it will work. And it's just hard to get to that spot of, you get so many rejections. It's like, I just give up. Like, let me go back to whatever I was doing before. But even though that wasn't really working too well either.
Yeah, it's really hard. I think so much of being a business owner or an entrepreneur, right, is having enough trust in yourself, in your business, and really saying, what am I doing today for my future self, right? What am I doing for next month, for next quarter, for next year? It's hard and it's a grind, right? And I think that you touched on something really important, that marketing and outreach is work, right? It feels like it should come
Yep.
naturally. I think especially because social media is so social, but
Right.
it really takes work. And I think it's trusting in that consistency that it will
Yes.
pay off. But it's very difficult when you don't see those returns for weeks, months, even years, right? And I think that's something that's also really crucial, is meeting people where they're at now, right? Where are they now? Even if they're not ready to work with you in this moment, they could be ready in 2 months, 6 months, 2 years, right? You just
Yeah.
never know when those relationships are going to pay off, and that work will pay off. So it's a lot of work, but yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, just think the work. If you just say, hey, for the rest of my business career, I've got to commit to being consistent in this, and so that means 5 people per week, so one per day or
Hmm.
something like that, whatever that number is, and you commit to that, it will compound. And 3 years later, I'm not going to do the math, but if you did that 5 people every single week for 3 years, that's a freaking ton of people.
Yeah.
And you just have to know, if you're showing up for those people, if you're trying to engage online, comment, and just say 30 minutes a week, I'm gonna, I've got this list of people and this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna say, yep, that's a great article, this is good, like what you're doing here, whatever. Over time, it might take 6 months, 12 months, 2 years before you start seeing some of the fruit of that, but eventually it will pay off. And it's a grind in the meantime.
Yeah. Yes, it
Mm.
is.
That's good. It's super interesting. I mean, I didn't even think about next level, being highlighted yesterday from that short discovery call. But I think maybe, and I should ask him this, but I think he may have taken the transcript from our call, thrown that into ChatGPT and said, like, hey, summarize this, the things that we talked about. All I'm thinking about right now is, like, man, I do a lot of podcast interviews, so I'm meeting a ton of people, and I do a lot of discovery calls, right? So I just, there could be so much great content that I might do a pre-interview, and the pre-interview we talk about some really cool stuff. I'm like, shoot, I should really be. I could create social posts from this, just like this guy did yesterday, and I felt so good after that. I was like, man, he really he liked some of the things I said. He mentioned them in this thing. I look and sound really, really smart. I think that's a no brainer.
That's awesome. I think that's a great idea. And I think, once we start getting in the habit, I think, you made a really good point when you said, if you just make this a part of your business, a part of your process, That's really what it's all about, right? Creating structure and saying this is just normal. This is a business activity that I do. And yes, there are growing pains and it takes time to get comfortable and have it feel like a flow. But once you start doing it, right, it's like going to the gym. The first few weeks suck, right? After
Yeah.
vacation, you've been drinking margaritas in Mexico and eating, quesadillas. And now you're like, well, this is going to be a fun week, right? And it
Right.
takes time. Your muscles hurt. You don't want to go, but then a couple weeks later, you're like, okay, I feel good. Like this is part of my life, right? It's the same thing. And I think I'm really trying to shift and reframe a lot of those business activities that don't feel fun to me, right? I think as business owners, we go into entrepreneurship like, I get to do what I want. I get to, create my own path. And that is the most beautiful and fun part of owning a business is doing whatever the heck you want. However, there are things, right, that we all don't want to do that we have to do.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just absolutely creating a schedule, creating maybe a little reward system. Like, what are you going to do for yourself, right? Incentivizing yourself, setting goals and yeah, I think once you get into the mindset of I'm making content, I'm putting myself out there, it starts to shift that you see all these possibilities. Oh my gosh, I could be using everything that I do in my everyday to be creating content. It's just, I think, giving yourself some time and space to do that, which isn't easy.
Yeah. Because everything is vying for our attention and time, and so it can feel very, very overwhelming. What out of all the practices and the things that you do to market your business, what's been one of the most successful campaigns or just approaches to marketing that you've seen the best ROI on?
This is funny because I think everybody in their own field, right? You ask a marketer what their best marketing is,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it's like my client's marketing. You ask a social media, you look at a social media manager's social media, and they're struggling to keep up their own business, right? So it's this
Yeah.
cycle. Like I want to just say, first of all, take comfort in that. Like we're all in the
Yeah.
same
That's
boat
good.
here. We all have
Yeah.
clients that we're, serving and working really hard on. I think I really love. Just connections and relationship building. I think that's just kind of the theme that we're speaking on today, or that's coming up for us. I think with my mentoring side of my business, that's where I feel, I get to do really deep, meaningful work. Yes, I love creating beautiful brands and helping business owners achieve those kinds of goals, but really doing this kind of work, those business foundations, is really meaningful to me. And so actually today I'm doing a business planning retreat that I'm offering for free. I really love providing
Oh,
free, valuable resources to my target audience and say, hey, I want to help you. This is free of charge. All you have to do is give your time, right? So I'm going to give you my expertise. I want to support you. I want to be here. And I really love kind of giving people a taste of what it's like to work with me. I don't really believe in like giving away too much for free. I think, we want to have boundaries and find balance, but I really love showing people what it's like to work with me, getting a taste of that and saying, hey, I don't want you to do this alone. Let's partner and let's do this together. So I love doing free workshops, webinars and today I'm doing this retreat. Like I said, it's going to be a 3-hour business planning retreat. I really want to help people, set themselves up for 2024. And then, right. So behind the scenes, the goal, the sales goal is, hey, I'm going to help you set these goals, create this roadmap. I think you need some help and some accountability to make it happen together. You can do it on your own, but I can help you get there faster. So that's, I think again, kind of pointing back to that authentic spirit. And I love giving entrepreneurs, resources and support. And that's what I do in my business. That's what they pay me for, but that's also my marketing tactic.
yeah, that's great. Love it. Yeah, leading with value and free stuff and doing that until somebody feels like, okay, like I've got enough free stuff. I really see this person as an expert in this industry. Let me work with them. We were looking at one of our clients. We work with a course creator, and we've worked with her the last, I don't know, 7 years or something. And we were just diving into some, like, how long has it taken some of these people to become customers. And this one woman had downloaded this free tutorial that we had, and it wasn't for, I think it was 4 years later. She spent $77, and then she ended up, I don't know, spending like another $150 or something like that. But it took a long time for that. But what we were really looking at was who came in via a Facebook ad, and I think at that point we were saying like, hey, it probably is like $15 per lead. So we made our money back. It just took a lot longer than it would in most cases. Still kind of a funny thing to look at.
Absolutely. And that's exactly it, right? You never know when that person is going to say, yes, now is the time. It could be tomorrow, and it could be 4 years. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. With the clients, as you're working with people, helping them create their brand and really help them know how they should be showing up. When it comes to video, what kind of videos are you recommending, or what kind of video do you think, again, like if money wasn't really an object for one of your clients, what picture would you paint for them as saying like, man, if you had this video or these 3 videos, this would set you up really nicely on the launch of your brand and for the next 6 or 12 months?
Great question. I have to think on that. I think it really depends on the type of business that you're running, right? If you are e-commerce, I work with a lot of e-commerce brands and product-based businesses now for the agency side. And I love planning photo and video shoots. That is a part of our done for you agency package because I just believe in it so much. We could create the most beautiful branding, the most beautiful website, but if you don't have, and I know I'm preaching to the choir by our listeners here, but I just want you to know that I really value, high-end video and photography. So this is definitely something we incorporate. And I do work with, kind of like you said, looking for those partners for video and photos. But getting back to the question, I think, number one, if you have an e-commerce based business, really highlighting your product in a lifestyle way. I think I'm maybe what I'm trying to get at. And I feel like we keep talking about this theme. And I don't mean to overuse this buzzword, but I think authenticity, right? Like we really, that's what we're craving, I think now in our culture, right? We're so used to just being sold to, especially in America. We have a lot of, right? We're a very capitalistic society and culture, right? We're constantly just being fed to buy more. And I think if you can tap into giving people a break from that and creating, a need, a want, a desire, no matter what type of content or video that is, or product or service you're selling, but especially right with a product-based business, I really believe in let's showcase what this product is in a very real setting, right? I just did a family and children's apparel brand. So we didn't have like super cheesy, and again, I know I'm kind of using extreme examples, but we didn't have cheesy videos where you're like showing off the t-shirt and holding it up, right? We just showed very natural families. We rented out an Airbnb. We planned a whole day shoot, and we had tons of different settings and scenes. We did tons of work and research ahead of time. Let's set up a scene. We had a mom and a daughter baking cookies in the kitchen. We had a father and son reading a book in their playroom, right? So just creating really authentic experiences that your target audience and your target customer can really relate to, I think is most important, no matter what type of video, you're creating. I think the same could be said if you're a service provider and you're doing a direct to camera video like we are here on Instagram. I think it's just about setting up the scene, priming your audience to not be sold to, but to create an authentic narrative around that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. I think the key there is creating stuff that's relatable, that's real. That should serve a personal brand very, very well. And I say personal brand, I mean, for any video studios out there like ours, where we've got, multiple employees, and I might be the face of the company, but if there's a way for us to humanize that brand, that most brands can't or don't do that. Most video companies want to seem bigger than they are. And so, we here at Blank Studios, blah, blah, blah. It's like, who here? Like, tell me more about that person. if you can do that, you can create connections versus like,
Absolutely.
and you should probably have, I say you should probably have, like, you could easily have stuff that is more generic, but if you're not creating anything that really it personalizes the brand, then it can just feel like a company talking to a person versus a person talking to a person.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got it right. I mean, this is 101. You've got to get to know your target customer and your audience and what they're looking for, and speak to them just as it's so funny how this all relates, right? Just as if you're sending a cold message on, on Instagram, we want to have that same tone and feel and vibe. Yes, we can shift our language or shift our level of quote unquote professionalism, but I think, that same theme absolutely carries through.
Yeah, that's good. I'd love to just touch on, as we're thinking about agency clients, there can be a feeling for our listener that would consider themselves just a freelancer. And with that mindset of just a freelancer versus a business owner, that person might say like, well, I'm not, my business is not big enough or my freelance work is not big enough for me to approach an agency. So I'll wait until either I become that or I just have to find other clients. How would you coach somebody through thinking like that?
Oh, this was probably the biggest shift for me in my business, in my life as an entrepreneur, right? Making that shift from my mindset of freelancer to business owner. Now, I want to also start out by saying, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a freelancer. If some people really, the things that we're talking about, hate sales, hate marketing. They want to be behind the scenes. And honestly, I respect it. And sometimes I'm like, maybe I'll just go back to that, right? So I don't think there's anything wrong with freelancing and working with a variety of clients. However, I think, there does need to be a mental shift into owning a business, right? And that can come from everything from contracts, right? I have a lot of clients who are in their first maybe year of business and contracts are so scary to them. And, it's like, this feels too professional. It feels too real. It feels like I'm not that serious. I'm just trying to, design some graphics, right? And I think, that is an example where the shift needs to happen, that whether you want to promote yourself as a business owner, you are conducting business. And that shift really changed everything for me. I think it helped me show up differently. It helped me build more confidence in what I was doing. I think there are tactical things like I just mentioned, like contracts and systems and software, invoicing, right? Kind of all of these tactical business things that are really important. But I think the mindset piece really is important. I think it also shifts how you work with clients, how we set boundaries, how we communicate. Are you running a business or are you kind of letting it run you? Do you answer to emails at 3 a.m. and you're like, okay, I'll get this done as soon as possible for you, right? Or are you taking ownership and saying, I have boundaries. I'm here to serve you, but these are my business hours, right? Just shifts like that. I think that's what I'm trying to get at, is just examples of your life can really change when you step into that business owner mindset, and kind of it gives you more power and control, which I think is necessary.
Yeah. To have the confidence to even think through, like, I have set working hours and maybe I do work outside of my working hours, but front facing to clients, hey, I'm available 9 to 5, Monday through Thursday, Tuesday through Friday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever that is, communicating that, creating that expectation, putting that information on your website. And if you want to work outside of that, you've got the freedom to do that, but really positioning yourself and creating those boundaries should help build the confidence that a client wants you to have, right? They want you there. I guess there probably are some clients out there that like working with freelancers because they can tell them anything that they want, and a standard freelancer just is going to say yes to everything because they don't feel like they have another option. But when you start that mind shift from freelancer to business owner, you start believing differently about yourself, about your business, about your freelance business, whatever you're going to call that. And with that comes an opportunity to be able to say, you know what, I think I'm actually worth more. And if I am going to work outside of business hours, if somebody wants me to do that, I'm going to have to charge more for that. And if there are additional
edits that need to be done, more revisions, then, we kind of talked at the beginning that we usually do 2 rounds of revisions. Now we're on our 14th round, and I've just been afraid to say no to the client. But man, if I set this up, like this is how our business operates, this is our process, then, and when I say I have nobody else working with me, but this is the business, me and the business, or the business and I, this is our process. I can stop doing revisions for free. And like, this is how we charge for them. So we're happy to do additional revisions, but this is what you're going to have to pay per revision or per hour, or however you do that. I think I just love unpacking this. I think there's probably a lot of freedom coming through, even considering like, maybe there is a difference between a freelancer mindset and a business owner mindset.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it. And it's right, that kind of old adage that we teach people how to treat us. And I think when we start viewing ourselves differently, when we even treat ourselves better, right? I mean, kind of doing that self work of, I see myself as this, you know what? I am capable. I am skilled at what I do, and I deserve to be paid. I deserve to be respected. I look back on my agency days, and that's, one of the reasons that I left is, sure, if you love working at 3 a.m, that's great. Just don't expect me to be making your edits at 3 a.m. for, an 8 a.m. presentation, right? So it's all about that balance. And I think that that's why so many of us go into starting a business, or many of us start out by freelancing. That's how I started. You kind of just pick up some projects and jobs. And for me, it snowballed, right? And then I realized, oh my gosh, like I've got to get my ducks in a row, because I think quickly it starts to feel a little out of control. And I think switching into that mindset as a business owner really helps you bring some control back into the business, not in a like tight gripped fist way, but just of like, okay, I have things managed. And I also know, I think that's just so much more attractive to a potential client, that they really are sensing your confidence, your even professionalism, right? If you're saying, hey, here's the contract, here's the invoice, we're ready to go, they, I think, immediately can trust you tenfold. They're like, oh, okay, I don't have to do anything. I can read the contract, we can discuss anything, and there we go.
I love that. It's so good. Yeah, just like, little processes along the way to make people think, oh, I don't need to be following up with this person. They're actually taking the initiative, so they must really take this seriously. They take themselves seriously, so I should probably take them seriously too. That could go a long way, especially when it comes down to what people are going to be willing to pay you, right? If they just think that this is just a freelancer. That's why people get freaked out when they ask me like, hey, how much would it be if, you did a video of me doing blah, blah, blah. And I tell them, and they're like, oh my gosh, like that's like way more than I thought. And it's like, yeah, well, I'm not, quote unquote, just a freelancer. Like I run a studio, I've got a business, and I've got other people that pay this, and I get like, if you don't value it, that's your prerogative. And there's probably somebody out there that could do what you want, but also know what comes with that. Somebody that might not have a process, and you're going to have to lead the whole thing. And if you don't want to lead the whole thing, then you're going to have to pay for that. Somebody's going to have to, lead the thing. And
absolutely,
that's what we can come alongside and do for you.
100%. I always say that you can have things done like 2 out of 3 ways: fast, cheap, or quality. Right? You can't have all 3. You can't have it quick, you can't have it be cheap, and you can't have it be all high quality. So you've got to make a choice. And, I think that if you can own that mindset and really believe that yourself, then your clients will see that as well, or your prospects will see that. And like you said, you're building that respect as a service provider or a freelancer or whatever you want to call yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. My very first website, when I first launched my video company, I had these 3 red arrows: cheap, easy, fast. Yeah. And oh man, it was really cheap, and it was somewhat easy-ish process, but I would say it was not fast, and it wasn't super easy. Yeah, good times. As we wrap up here, any last thoughts to encourage our video business owner / freelancer / whatever, as we kind of want to really take ownership in our businesses, grow, offer more value to potential clients, and just build something that's sustainable, profitable, and allows us to, to live the life of our dreams.
Yeah, I think to sum up our conversation today, we talked a lot about authenticity, about being yourself, kind of owning a new mindset. And I think that that's really where it begins, right? If we can do this work, it's very hard work. It's not fun. It's not easy, right? I mean, some of us do that in therapy or with a coach or with a mentor. But I think, doing this hard work really does pay off. And I think trusting and believing that the work that you're doing today is going to serve you tomorrow, and sticking with that is really, it's the key to entrepreneurship, right? We don't make sales the day that we reach out 99.9% of the time. So it's just trusting in your ability, your knowledge, and having confidence in that. And I think, you said this earlier, the more you do that, the more confident that you will become, and the more second nature all of this will be. So my encouragement is to just stick with it. And find people and trust. We can't do this alone. I think working remotely, I live nomadically. Ryan and I joked before we got on the call, my sound and my video aren't great. I'm sorry, guys. But that's a con of being able to live my life wherever I want. And so all that to say, that can also be isolating. And so I think find your people, find your tribe, whether that's like a mentorship or a mastermind program. I know Ryan and I both have those, whether that is just having a trusted friend or therapist or mentor, right? Somebody that understands. I think business owners, having a trusted network can be so valuable and helpful. As much as your family and your friends want to support you, they don't understand what's happening in your life as a business owner. So I think that that's also really important to remember. Yeah.
Love it. It's so good. How can people connect with you? Where can they find you online?
Yeah, I love hanging out on Instagram. You can find me at Alyssa House. You can also just go to alysshouse.com. I have a bunch of freebies, and you can also find my agency website connected through there. So alysshouse.com. Love to send me a DM. I really genuinely, I love receiving those cold DMs. So send them to me. Let's just start a relationship. Let's grab a cup of coffee, and I'd love to connect with all of you.
That's awesome. And it's lysshouse.com, correct?
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Yes. Love it. Super fun hanging out. Appreciate your perspective. Thank you so much for what you brought today. This is great.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, friend, thank you so much for hanging out today. This was super fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear feedback from you if you thought something was extra good, or something that was like, yeah, this wasn't that great. I don't agree with this. I don't like that. Hit me up. We'd love to hear from you. You can email me. My email address is ryan@studiosherpas.com. If you're watching this on the YouTubes or the Facebook video thing, leave a comment underneath and let us know what your big takeaway is. Okay? Follow us on the socials. Check out the mastermind if you're interested. If you want more info, we're just accepting applications for the next couple of weeks. So we will have our masterminds filled up and ready to go in December for next year, early December. So don't dilly-dally, get on it. Remember, it's studiosherpas.com/mastermind. Until next week's episode, or next time that we're together, keep on, my friend. The work is worth it. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you, and I'll talk to you really soon. See ya.